words that I don't really write in and experimentation until I sort of got there, because I wanted him to sound totally different than everyone else.
What is, this is me and my listening to Ferris a lot, so explain a morning, a creative morning for you when you were in the show and versus a morning for you when you are writing.
I mean, they're all the same day. I only have as many days as everybody else. So I'm often writing all day.
Specifically the morning. And I imagine that your son is sort of all
the morning. I don't write in the mornings anymore. I used to write in the mornings. Now I have a 10-month-old son, so I play with him until I have to leave. Although he did, I accidentally sent lyrics off to Disney with him. He had smashed the keyboard before, so it has all this like hieroglyphics in the middle of it that are his contribution. But my mornings are him and the dog all morning, and then I come to the theater, and I have a keyboard in my theater, and I work there until the show starts. The thing about being in the show is you plan your life around being at your peak at 8 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock at night. So I have constantly an eye on like how much protein I've eaten, how many calories I've eaten, because I'm going to burn them all up over 3 hours at night. I have to eat 2 hours before showtime because if I burp, I miss 3 lines. I have to be fully digested before I'm on stage. These are the little things you don't think about, but they're real. Eat a big meal and then try to rap for 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's not going to happen.
2-show day also is a physical.
Yeah, in 2-show day, you've got to have enough voice. I have more words in this show than King Lear, than Othello, than we have a guy who counted. Jason Crystal from our sound department counted. Then Macbeth. The only one I don't beat is Hamlet. Hashtag yay Hamlet. He talks a lot. It's a weird mix of having an eye on the big clock at night and also trying to free up enough brain space to really kind of drift. Like you got to be able to sort of drift around and let good stuff in. So, yeah.
So, when we read about Hamilton, I mean, there's been so much just accolades thrown your way. Rerun. The Times said Lin-Manuel Miranda has transformed theater and maybe like history. They said that you were this generation's preeminent musical theater orator. Sondheim said that Hamilton is a breakthrough that empowers people to see, to think differently. I mean, on and on and on and on. How heavy is that load to kind of carry?
He ain't heavy. It's crazy. It's just crazy. When that Times article came out with the quotes from Sondheim and the Roots and Sharon, I just felt like, oh, I'm dead. I'm dead, and this is the beautiful things they're going to write about me when I'm dead. But I happen to be alive. And so it's been very surreal. I think what keeps me grounded is the work, because this is not Hollywood and this is not TV. You know, we got that great review. You paid your money to see us in that show tonight, and you're going to get the same meal that reviewer got. So what keeps us grounded is the fact that we've got to make this happen for every audience every time we do the show. We're making the meal from scratch. We're more like chefs than we are actors. It's not about what you read about when you saw Anthony Bourdain go to that restaurant. You want to have that experience when you eat the meal. Our show is so complicated that you cannot space out for a second. The other day I spaced out thinking about something I needed to do later that day, and I almost got hit with a chair. Our show takes place on 2 turntables that rotate in opposite directions sometimes in the middle of a number. We have the hardest working dance ensemble on Broadway. They never stop moving. You'll get kicked if you think about how great you are for a second. You're just going to get kicked or thrown off the stage. So, you know, being in this company is the best thing that could happen to me, because there's no time to sit around going like this. It's about doing the show again.
So my last question, Hamilton was obsessed with his legacy. That's a big through line throughout the show. History has its eyes on you, all this wonderful verbiage that you've written down about legacy, legacy, legacy. You said at the beginning of this talk that his legacy was kind of relegated to this guy who died in a duel.
Yeah.
And there's a really good chance that this will now replace that kind of forgotten legacy. A, what do you think about that? And B, it's such like one of those questions, but what do you think Hamilton would think about this fact?
Well, one, I love that we have so many musical theater fans in here because you know that the only history you know is from musicals. So, you weirdly know a lot about Argentinian history. You know a lot about the founding, you know about one failed French Revolution in 1848. You know about the founding documents and that John Adams was obnoxious and disliked. And you know about cats. And so, to me it's very funny because, it's just, I always think about, I was in 9th grade astronomy, and we had this assignment where you had to write, and I grew up in the 90s, and we had this assignment where you had to pick one of the astronomers on this list, and write a paper about that, and every girl in the class picked Galileo because of the Indigo Girls song. I just imagine the papers. I'm writing about the restless soul of Galileo, king of night vision, king of insight. And, that's going to be the Hamilton effect for a while, is that there's going to be a generation of people who just filter American history through this show. And that's great, and I hope that's why I felt the burden of being as historically accurate as possible, because I know us musical theater heads, we're just going to take that as fact, whatever I said, so I better be accurate. And that's heartening to me. I don't know what Hamilton would make of the fact that a group of African Americans and Latinos are telling his story every night. I think he'd be tickled. He is, I think that one of the biggest legacies Hamilton really left us, and it's due to his financial work, is because he was an immigrant, he never thought of himself as being coming from a colony. He always thought of this as the United States of America. He always thought of this as one nation. And his financial plan helped make us one nation. Jefferson didn't think of us that way. Jefferson was thinking, I'm Virginia's man. There were Virginians and there was a lot of factions, and Hamilton is the one who really got us on the road to thinking of ourselves as one country. So I hope he'd be proud of this story. I hope he'd be proud of the light we shine on his wife, who was an extraordinary woman in her own right. It's just really hilarious.